Hi. I meant to add myself to the stream and then I didn't. And then I got distracted because the sound was not working and I was confused. So I was trying to fix it in real time, which I did. I think I did. I think I did. Anyway, welcome everybody. If you are here live, let me know where you're coming in from, what you're sipping on this evening. I I had plans to go with something else, and then I went with the way too on the nose Lawyer Up, which is one of my favorite local beers. Um, so tonight is going to be a little interesting. I am the only human being in the house, so we're going to hope that the critters let us hang. And, yeah, I was mid reading another article in prep for everything. So what I am gonna do instead is I'm gonna pull up my notes so that I know what I'm doing this evening. Welcome everybody. It's been a wild week. It has been an absolutely wild week, right? It has been ups and downs. We had the safe return of the Artemis launch crew, anything. If you are over the age of 40, you're probably like me. I didn't watch the takeoff. I didn't watch the leaving of the Earth because I was too young to have witnessed Challenger in real time. But it was still very fresh for everybody, and so there was this big chunk of time where there was a lot of space travel, and there was a lot of things going back and forth and all of that, between the space station, and we were really in that mode, and most of that just kinda got hidden, I think, because of Challenger, and then the one time they brought it back, it was the time that tiles were falling off as they were reentering, and so I was more of the, I wanna see them all get off the, capsule in real time, and I just happened to turn on the news and watch that in real time. It was absolutely lovely. Um, I had in my head so foolishly that we were just gonna have a fun, silly little Saturday and chat about that. But here's the thing about doing a show on Saturday. Friday evenings have this really bad habit of just dropping some major news story right in my lap. So I was struggling all week. What are we gonna talk about? Maybe we'll keep it light. We'll talk Artemis. It'll be lovely. I opened my phone last night and the Swallwell story dropped. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to go over the article, um, and we are going to look at some things because I have some thoughts, and the internet has spent the day crashing out, and so I want to take a minute with y'all to go over a few things. Um, when we do that. So, before I get into that though, if you're new here, hi, welcome. I'm Aurora, and we gather together once a week on Saturday. Time is currently shifting because, well, we're heading into the summer months. We are heading into everything being busy all of the time. So I aim for live shows on Saturday at 7:15 in the evening. The rest of this month, however, plans have been foiled. I will go over that at the end. We'll do housekeeping stuff at the end. But welcome. I am Aurora. I'm a legal biller during the day. And over here, we talk politics, pop culture, and court. And sometimes all of those things end up being one. Today, we have a lot of crossover. So, um, That is who I am. That is what I do. Don't mind me. I am trying to keep my show notes in order, which is show notes in order. Why would I do that? Um, anyway, so tonight, yeah, we're gonna talk about the Swalwell thing. Couple of things that I am going to clear up right out of the gate. First off, let me not that, not that. Where'd it go? There it is. First off, we're gonna do this because it is gonna be a sensitive topic. We are gonna discuss it. I'm gonna try and avoid the words that YouTube doesn't like, but it's part of the whole story and we need to discuss that. So, and I'm gonna be reading the news article because I think that is very important there. I do want us all to have grace with each other. We are all going to have different experiences. We all come at this from a different perspective. However, that said, here's where we're going to start. We are going to start from a position of belief. I will get into that a little bit as we start after I run the intro. But we are going to start from a position of belief. There is a reason for that. Also, the content creators that broke this story. Yes, CNN did the investigative journalism thing and broke the story so that the mainstream media would talk about it. However, as I understand how this happened, I remember seeing the Mrs. Frazzled vague post about it a while back. And when I encourage you to go look up her channel, see the things she has posted on her channel. Because it seems that this is a case that involves people reaching out to her directly as friends who were sharing their experiences. The amount of hate that has come for her is kind of insane because as a content creator, we're kind of only as good as what we put out, right? So there are lots of different areas where there's lots of different genres, right? On YouTube, there's a ton of different things that you can catch. Some things are shorts, some things are long form like mine, other things are in between. But, you know, for example, Phil DeFranco doesn't have 6 million followers because he's just spewing propaganda, right? So when somebody uses their platform to break a news story and to be the recipient of the blowback coming for the survivors, which is what I've seen all day on the internet, it is something to be noted. And it is something that will affect her professionally on the social platforms, right? Even if it's just for a time. So, what I want everybody to do is say, okay, you don't trust all of the mainstream media, but you also didn't trust a content creator when she broke the story. Now, mind you, when I first saw the story, I was like, I have no details. I have no further information. I have one person saying something in a very vague way. I'm not going to put a ton of weight into that, but I am paying attention. And I think that that is a fair place to be. Now the story is broken. The first investigations have happened. And as of today, a criminal investigation has been opened. So, with that, that is what we have on the docket for this evening. But before we get real deep into the heavy, Aurora, you're 10 minutes in and you've alluded to it, but uh, before we get real deep into the heavy, let me do the thing that I gotta do because I'm a one-woman show and I'm working on building this community. You guys are great. If you wanna show the world how awesome you are and all of that, we've got merch. It's available on the website. It's also available so you can get to the shop from the website. That's the easiest way to do it. Just click shop now, and it will bring you to all of the things. I've also added a few things because, I want them for myself. So so there's that. Okay. And also, if you like the show, if you enjoy hanging out with if you're just catching shorts or what have you, uh do me a favor and you know give the subscribe button a little tap there and do the likey things and all those things. Engage as you will. It helps the channel, it helps the show, and it helps us, most importantly, build our community with each other. So with all of that stuff out of the way, let me go ahead and roll the intro, and then we are going to get into it. Buckle up, grab your beverage, grab your snacks. Tonight is going to be a lot. We got you. I have you. I got you. I got you. We've got this. Let's roll. Welcome to Bark a Lot with the Aurora H. White. I'm a legal biller by trade, opinionated law and politics nerd by default. I'm here to break down the political, pop culture, and court headlines that we're all talking about. We value facts, thoughtful discussion, and salty language, so whether you're a fellow law nerd, a political junkie, or just looking for a little hope in today's crazy world, you're in the right place. Tap that subscribe button, pull up your soapbox, and let's go. Let's go. All right. Before we get into this, before we get into any of the news articles or anything like that, I'm going to start with some basics. There are some basic rules that I live by when it comes to allegations, particularly of this nature. First off, I personally hate the phrase, hate it, hate it, hate it, believe women, because it implies that only women are survivors, which they are not. It implies that only women are victims, which they are not. I remember the Depp Heard trial. I remember several other things where women are the perpetrators. So this goes both ways. I am of the believe survivors. Just start there. I am also very much trust but verify. So, um, I've seen a lot of things today that are the innocent until proven guilty. That, my friends, is for criminal court. That is when you enter criminal court, that is innocent until proven guilty. Why? Because we would rather, the way the system is set up, in theory, is to ensure that if we are to err, we err on the side of a guilty person walking free. That is how the legal system is set up. That is not, however, the court of public opinion. So, when things like these allegations appear, and I don't really care who we're talking about. I don't care what side of the aisle they're on. I don't care if I'm a fan. I don't care if I'm not a fan. I don't care if I agree with them on a lot of things. I strive very hard to start from the um thinking about it like a lawsuit has been filed where the person filing the lawsuit, the court has to take those allegations in the light most favorable to the petitioner, right? So in this particular case, we have allegations of SA, and we are going to take those in the light most favorable to the accuser. Now, we can also ask for further evidence, but we are not a criminal court. So when somebody is seeking a higher political office, more power, and the rest of it, we can ask questions. We can say, hey, I have questions about this, that, or the other within the allegations. That's fine. That is what we are here to do. However, we are going to assume that the accusers are telling the truth as they understand it for them. And then we go from there. That's how I take it. And I'm going to use the Depp Heard example because in 2016, this is a perfect example of how it should end up, right? Of us doing actually the things correctly that we are supposed to do when it comes to allegations like this and public figures. In 2016, Amber Heard made some allegations. Pretty much overnight, Johnny Depp lost his career. He lost endorsements, with the exception of a couple. But for the most part, everybody kind of went, whoa, I am not dealing with this dude anymore. And then every woman I think that man has had contact with in, up to that 20, 30, 40 years came forward and said, this is not the guy that I know, which was interesting. So now I'm paying attention because that's not a thing that usually happens. But still, he wasn't reinstated. This was an investigation in the court of public opinion. He was not reinstated. There was his defamation lawsuit in the UK that he lost because it was against the paper, not Heard, and it was bench trial, meaning a judge only, and it was not a criminal trial. It was a civil trial. Rules of evidence were very different. What could be presented was incredibly different. Basically, the result of that was that the paper could say what they said because their source was the accuser. I have no issues with this. Then, when he took her to court in the US, civil court, so 50 plus a feather. But I watched that trial play out, start to finish, gavel to gavel, and I went into it going, what is the evidence that is going to be presented to me? And I came to the exact same conclusion that jury came to. So that is how these sorts of things should play out, right? Allegations, ice them. Just freeze whoever the alleged attacker is. Then we go through and sort things out. That is how that should happen. That's how it happens in the corporate world. That's how it happens. I mean, we would like it to happen that way everywhere, right? Allegations happen. The person that is accused of whatever the wrongdoing is basically gets put in ice until either we are able to prove them innocent or until other things come to light that say, oh no, this is bigger and worse than we thought. So that is what I am going to say on that end. I am also going to say this. Despite what we adults may feel about Swalwell, myself included, internet, I am begging you not to internet at his wife and children because they have a whole nother set of things that they need to sort out. And in a case such as this, it is a very, very real possibility that his wife has never, ever seen this side of him. And that's a lot of complex things to work through. So, people we are not going to drag through the mud on the internet if you follow me here. We're not going to drag Swalwell's wife through this, not even a little bit. That woman has been hit with a barrage of ick in the last 24 to 48 hours. Not okay. We're going to give her grace unless and until she does something that removes that grace or says something to remove that grace. That is possible. The 3 people we leave out of this conversation entirely and we have all of the grace for are his children. We live in a world where they may be little now, but by the time they're in second, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, friends of theirs are going to know about this. They're going to be asked about this. It's going to get really weird for them. So we give them all of the grace because they already had a public figure for a parent, which is a whole thing. And now this is stuff that is going to live on every time somebody Googles their name. This now hurts them, which makes me doubly mad at their father, Eric Swalwell. So, don't internet at the innocents here, okay? They're gonna catch strays no matter what we do, but us in this community, we're not going for that. That's not a thing. So now let's get to the case itself before I go ahead and swoop and pull up the article. I think I mentioned this before, but I have been my ears perked up when I came across the first Mrs. Frazzled short, a vague post about this. And I think I've said it. I may not have said it on the show. I may have only said it to my folks. When it comes to the Epstein files, I stand by I don't give a flying fuck which side of the aisle you're on. If you are a predator, if you do anything like this, um, I want to see you brought down. I want to see the reporting. I want to see it out in the open. And I want us all to be able to make those decisions. So you made some choices, Swalwell, to come out and say some things. And I think those choices and your own words are going to come back to bite you. So, yes, I've been following this, but going, I want to wait and see. I want to wait and see. I want to wait and see. And the CNN article dropped. I'm going to pull that up in a minute. I also want to say I did do a bio check on all 4 reporters who investigated and worked on this particular report at CNN. Why? Because CNN does not have the best track record, especially of late. And also because I learned from the Depp Heard trial that I need to look at who the reporters are, because if they couldn't look at evidence and accept the evidence for what it was, I don't trust them when they report on this type on things of this subject matter, right? So yeah, when I looked these guys up, I did not see any red flags. I don't know if there are any there, but I didn't see any. The other thing I do need to point out is I have no idea what Roger Stone tweeted, but I love me a good conspiracy theory. I really do. They're gonna hop on the coattails of any Democratic infighting, and that's what we're seeing here. So pretty much if it's coming from a source like Roger Stone, like don't give that any airtime or weight. There isn't anything to indicate that that's how this went down at all. He's an opportunist who sees an opportunity, and that's what I see there. So, um, yeah, no, it was Mrs. Frazzled, and I do not know the other content creator who was involved in this because I don't follow them. I've never seen their stuff. I can't comment on it. But I know there was another content creator working with Mrs. Frazzled. So, I also appreciate the math of it all. These two started getting these reports, and instead of just blaring it from the treetops, because we always have why didn't they announce this as soon as they had it? Because breaking news and allegations sometimes are wrong. So if you go through the process of trust but verify behind the scenes, and seems as though these creators behind the scenes also set up a safety net for the survivors, a legal safety net, all of that. That is something to be admired because they did not just blast it out there as soon as they got the information. They waited until they confirmed information, had resources lined up, and then were able to release it. I have no issues with that. I have no issues with that. That is how we should be doing these things. So that is key. Before I get into the rest of my notes, let me go ahead and pull up the article. Let me swoop. Let us pull up the article, and I want to read through it with everybody. We'll get through it as quickly as we can, but the article is very important, and I'm not seeing the article quoted nearly as much as I want to see it quoted. So, doggy swoop. All right. Can I get... Oh, wait. No. Is this it? No. No, that's my show notes, guys. Hang on. Getting there. There we go. I did it. I got there. All right. Let me do that. Why does it look this way? Because there is a thing on my computer that allows me to put this in a reader mode of sorts. I was able to turn it into a PDF, and the font that you see and all of that is because I watch a lot of folks who are neurospicy, and one of them is neurospicy and dyslexic. And when she pulled up I am not dyslexic, I am neurospicy. And when I first saw this, I went, oh my God, why can I read that easier? Apparently, it's supposed to help. It does help me. So that's why it looks that way. If you are amongst those where it hurts your brain, I'm sorry. It does not hurt my brain, and I'm the one reading it. So that's where we're gonna do that. So that's why it looks kind of funny. Anyway, all right, here we go. We are at the beginning of the article here. This is the CNN article. And I will be going back and forth between screens because I have this screen that I am reading off of, and there is this screen that hi. So I'll be going back and forth. So let us look at this article together. A former staffer of Representative Eric Swalwell, a leading Democrat candidate for California governor, says that the congressman, I am avoiding the words because YouTube, hurt her when she was heavily intoxicated and left her bruised and bleeding, an allegation Swalwell strongly denies. She said it happened in 2024 after she had stopped working in Swalwell's office. He didn't stop. She said it was the second time Swalwell had non-consensual contact with her while she was drunk. Also not cool. In 2019, when she was still working for him, she said she woke up naked with him in a hotel room after a night of heavy drinking. She said she had no memory of what happened, but could feel physically that they had had contact. 3 other women who spoke with CNN also alleged various kinds of misconduct by the Democratic congressman, including Swalwell sending them unsolicited, explicit messages or nude photos. Okay. And biggin, because I need to be larger to say this. Gentlemen, we don't want to see it. If we have not asked, don't send it. If we have not asked, do not send it. It's not as pretty as you think it is. It's just not. And I don't care if you think it's the best looking thing there is. We don't care. Okay? If we want to see it, trust me when I tell you, we will ask. If we have not asked, don't send it. Just don't, just don't, just don't, just don't. If you want to look at it, you look at it. Back to the article. Okay. One woman who connected online with Swalwell over her interest in Democratic politics said she ended up extremely drunk inside his hotel room after a night out with the congressman, with little memory of what occurred. Earlier in the night at a bar, he kissed her and touched her leg without her consent, she said. Another woman who described receiving unsolicited nude messages from Swalwell was social media creator Ali Semarco. I apologize if I said your name wrong. She said she initially reached out to that got cut off. Something I remember reading this hang on. Hang on. I got this eventually. I'll get there. I can find the line I'm missing. Here we are. She said the part that's missing here is she said she initially reached out to the congressman on Twitter to discuss politics. I truly never thought he would respond. I had like 1,000 followers at the time, she said, and he actually responded. And I know what that feels like when you have this parasocial relationship with somebody and you reach out, even if it's just to say, hey, congratulations, what have you, and they respond. It's like, oh my goodness, they see me. Oh my goodness. Heck, it doesn't even need to be that. The other night, during a members only live with Emily D. Baker, she's got a tone when she recognizes somebody in chat. And like when she actually recognizes name, picture, all of that. Her tone shifts ever so slightly. I could never replicate it, but it is a slightly shifted tone, and I was on the receiving end of that with a chat, and it just made I fangirled about it for like 2 days. I really did. So yeah, if you really admire somebody and they reach out to you, it you don't think about it the same way, and you don't necessarily think about it as critically if you're like, "Oh my god, this is a real person talking to me." So just tossing that out there. Okay. Swalwell has denied the allegations. Of course he has. Of course he has. What's he gonna do? Yeah, I did it. Of course he has. Um, these allegations are false and come on the eve of an election against the frontrunner for governor. When he says the eve of an election, he means the start of early voting, not the actual election. The start of early voting. Swalwell said in a statement to CNN, "For nearly 20 years, I have served the public as a prosecutor and a congressman and have always protected women. I will defend myself with the facts and, where necessary, bring legal action." We're going to come back to that. "My focus in the coming days is to be with my wife and children and defend our decades of service against these lies." Okay, that was a statement. An attorney for Swalwell sent two of the women CNN spoke with cease and desist letters on Thursday, a day after CNN first reached out to his campaign to request comment, according to the copies of the letters they provided CNN. The letters called the women's accounts false, ordered them to retract their statements, and warned of potential legal action if they continue speaking out. I'm going to pop in here with a side note. By every account I have read, every account today, CNN asked Swalwell and the Swalwell campaign for comment regarding these allegations. By all accounts, they did not say who accused. The women were never named. They weren't named to Swalwell. They weren't named to his attorney. So if they weren't named, how did the attorney know who to send cease and desist orders to? Who? Letters, not orders. The other thing is, you know who seemingly did not get cease and desist? The two content creators who broke the story. So if you're going to sue and you're looking for financial damages and you're looking to sue for defamation because you know this is not true, why are you going after the people who are anonymous and not the people who have the platform and the finances and didn't name their sources? That for me is where I'm like, that's a problem for Swalwell in my book. Yeah, that doesn't sit right with me. Okay. His attorney also sent CNN a letter denying that Swalwell has ever had non-consensual sex with any woman or ever had sexual relations with any member of his staff. One member of Swalwell's staff said they quit immediately after receiving CNN's detailed list of questions about the allegations. CNN found corroboration for key elements of each of the women's claims, including the former staffer who said she was assaulted. Two family members and a friend said in interviews with CNN that she told them about the alleged 2024, assault in the following days, and CNN also reviewed text messages she sent to two friends describing her allegations at the same time. "I was essayed on Thursday," she wrote to one of her friends, and adding, "by Eric." I would also like to point out that if you're a staffer, that's what you do for work, which means if this happens and you go running to your higher ups, who's your higher up? The person who did it to you, probably, or people around them that are supporting them. There's nobody above if it's different, right? So also, if you accuse them of that and people decide that you didn't have enough evidence, which half the internet seems to be doing already, how are you going to get work again? So I get it. I get why everybody is anonymous and why everybody didn't immediately come running. Also, 2024, we're in 2026. That's not a long time to go public. It's really not. It's really, really not. Um, Okay, back to the article. Where was I? The woman also shared medical records related to her receiving STD and pregnancy testing after the alleged assault. Yeah, also, women aren't generally running to the doctor for that if there is not some truth to that. For the woman who connected online with Swalwell over Democratic politics, a family member and two friends confirmed she told them last year about the incident. I need to go back to the other article here because we have things cut off again. I'll get there. I'm sorry, guys. Almost there. There we are. The woman who connected online with Swalwell over Democratic politics, a family member and two friends confirmed she told them last year about the incident where she ended up intoxicated in his hotel room. CNN also reviewed messages between her and Swalwell, including a photo he sent her that matches footage of him during a CNN interview in her city on the night they met in person. That was a pretty easy fact check for CNN, I have to say. The women described a similar pattern of events. Swalwell, who is married and has three children, showed close interest in their lives when they were in their 20s and finding their footing professionally, making them feel special and even starstruck. Then they said he would send them increasingly explicit messages. Many said they reciprocated and engaged with him in part because of his position of power. In some cases, those inappropriate exchanges escalated to alleged unwanted physical touch or SA, often tied to episodes of heavy drinking. If the red flags are going off in your mind, they are in mine too. The women asked not to be named out of fear of retaliation by Swalwell or professional consequences for speaking out against him. CNN reviewed screenshots of dozens of messages Swalwell exchanged with the women, many of which are flirtatious in nature. None of the messages reviewed by CNN are explicit. The women said Swalwell generally sent more graphic messages via Snapchat, which honestly this is me interjecting. It indicates both that you know you're doing something that you should not be doing, because the Snapchat messages disappear, and it indicates that you don't want the data saved anywhere on your device. Because a text message, even if you delete it, there's programs that can get it back. Also, if you delete it on your phone and they don't delete it on their phone, it's still gonna come out because your tech will always tell on you, which as a prosecutor, I'm pretty sure Swalwell knows. Snapchat. Snap where messages are automatic keep reading, Aurora, where messages are automatically deleted after short periods of time. Snapchat also warns senders if screenshots are captured, so they can't save it for themselves unless they alert him. We're getting to understand why one of my exes used Snapchat a lot with the cheating on me thing. There's a lot of reasons he's an ex, but there's a lot that feels real familiar to this whole situation too. Um, the allegations come as Swalwell, a congressman from the San Francisco Bay Area, former presidential candidate, pardon me, and fixture on cable news, has ascended in the polls. Rumors about misbehavior by Swalwell have circulated on social media in the recent weeks, broadcast by a group of progressive social media influencers. Yep. Most of the women who spoke to CNN initially reached out to one of these influencers, Mrs. Frazzled. Am I going to say her name 8,000 times? Yeah, because the internet isn't giving her the credit she deserves. She's only getting the backlash, and I don't like it. And it's not because I'm a huge fan of hers. I like her stuff, but it's because it's unwarranted, in my own personal opinion. Um, and most of the women who spoke to CNN initially reached out to one of these influencers and said that before the social media connection, I apologize, this happens when I read, they had assumed they were alone in their experiences with Swalwell. Well, haven't we heard that before? A lot. 3 key influencers told CNN that they were not being paid by other campaigns and had not coordinated directly with them in publicizing claims about Swalwell. This is why, when there is fighting in the Democratic situation, like the stuff going on in my state that is frivolous and ridiculous, and until I hear otherwise, it's frivolous and ridiculous. But you know what it did? It harmed these people coming forward because people aren't believing it. So, CNN also spoke to other women who worked for Swalwell, and they said they had never had inappropriate interactions with him, with some of them describing him as a supportive and caring boss. But several of the women who made allegations about Swalwell said that the congressman's actions had long term implications on their lives, leaving them confused, distraught, and scared. Uh huh. Quote, I always felt like if I came forward, I was going to suffer the consequences because he was so powerful. That is a very valid fear. The other former staffer who accused Swalwell of assaulting her added, I've lived in fear every single day. Yeah, because he's the one who had the power. They didn't. They were subordinate to him. The power imbalance is one thing. Add to that the age difference, and we have a recipe for what we're reading now, which is disaster. And I'm glad the consequences are happening. I am like, yes, investigate, go through that all. Um, Now we're getting into more specific allegations. Pardon me. We're just gonna do this for a second. Okay. Um, the former Swalwell staffer said she started interning for him in 2019 when she was 20 years old before she graduated from college. At the time, Swalwell was a rising star in the Democratic Party, a former prosecutor who had defeated a 40-year incumbent to win his suburban San Francisco Bay congressional seat. Swalwell made a name for himself as a member of the House Intelligence Committee and an outspoken opponent of President Donald Trump. Reminder, we can like his politics and dislike his actions. In April 2019, Swalwell launched an underdog presidential bid. Yeah, I'm going to skip that part. And I'm going to skip ahead. Inspired by his focus on gun control, the woman moved to California to join Swalwell's campaign as a junior staffer. I just believed in what he had to offer so much, she said. I hear that. After Swalwell dropped out of the presidential race in July 2019, she moved to a job in his district office. As the woman, who was by then 21, began to work more closely with Swalwell, planning events, arranging his travel, driving him around his district, he struck up a personal relationship with her. All of this seems normal. None of this seems like red flags to me up to this point. She said that Swalwell, who was 38, praised her work in the office, bringing her to meetings and introducing her to political figures. Cool. The two began messaging each other on Snapchat, she said. That's my first red flag. On that platform, she said Swalwell began making comments and sent her photos of his genitalia. I'm gonna skip over some of these words, and of him shirtless. Again, do not send dick pics unless she begs for them or he begs for them. If they want to see a dick pic, they will ask. Otherwise, don't send it. I'm gonna say that every time because it's just annoying. Um, he also asked her to send him photos of herself, including nude photos, which she did. She said she found the attention flattering. I get that, but also felt nervous because he was her boss. I also get that. The woman's mother told CNN that her daughter told her some months later that Swalwell was communicating with her over Snapchat and she and her husband found it inappropriate. Good on you, mama. But the woman didn't tell her parents at that time that the messages were sexual, the mother said. Of course not, because you're not necessarily going to tell mom that you're sending nudes to your boss. Of course not. Because the messages on Snapchat were automatically deleted, she says she has no screenshots of their exchanges on the app. There was Eric, the Snapchatting guy, and then there was Eric, my boss, the former staffer said. It was like two different people completely. I totally understand that, and I will bet we all know somebody like that. In 2019, when she was driving Swalwell around his district as part of her staff duties, he told her to stop in a parking lot, pulled out his junk, and asked her to give him a BJ, she said. She said she briefly complied before stopping and telling Swalwell she was uncomfortable. Yeah, it's not on demand. Not like that. No. He said to me, "You're right. It's probably not good for a congressman to be caught with his pants down," she told CNN. I'm sorry. I had a tone in my voice cuz yuck. Ew. Dude. In September 2019, she was alone with Swalwell at a bar in his district after a casual gathering with staffers. She said, "I was really, really drunk." And then she said again, "Come on, guys, editing." She said she remembers getting an Uber, and then the next thing she remembered, she woke up in Swalwell's hotel room the following morning, naked in bed with him. I know that there was sexual contact because when I woke up that morning, I could feel that there was. She said Swalwell told her that last night was great, but she should get going. She said, I can only imagine. I can only imagine. Um I have to skip because for whatever reason my PDF has lost things. So hang on. I just need to compare. No, that's not what I wanted. Okay. Um, let's see. That day, she was scheduled to accompany Swalwell to a quote hike with your congressman event at a local park. For listing A listing for the event appears on Swalwell's congressional Facebook page. At the event, she remembered, "I could still feel physically what happened to me," but she said Swalwell ignored her, treating her like someone who he had never seen before in his life. Yeah, that's the that mhm mhm um this all tracks for things I've seen, heard, experienced. Not with him in particular, but in general. Because it's that we can't let anybody know what just happened, so if I completely ignore them and I act like I don't even know them, nobody will know that something right. Um, Okay, back to the article. Later on Snapchat, she said Swalwell was much friendlier, telling her how nice their encounter was. I said to him, I don't really remember it at all. And he was like, well, next time we have to make sure you remember it. No. No, if somebody says they don't remember it, apologize. And then I don't know, ask how they feel about the entire situation, and then you can crack a joke if they are okay with it. Enthusiastic consent all day, every day. Anyway, the former staffer said that she didn't tell anyone about either of the incidents with Swalwell at the time. Quote, I just felt so dirty and gross, and it just became a secret that I lived with, end quote, she said. It wasn't clear to her at the time that she had been SA'd, but she later realized that the encounter was not consensual because she had been so intoxicated. There's a lot of ladies I know of my generation that as we have gotten older are like, oh, that wasn't okay, was it? Same girl, same. Okay. Swalwell gradually began Snapchatting her less frequently, she said. She moved to a new job in Swalwell's DC office and left for a new job about a year later. But Swalwell stayed in touch with her, she said, recommending her for jobs and messaging with her from time to time. The former staffer said she tried to stay in touch with Swalwell because of his status as a congressman. That makes sense. Um, Then in April 2024, when the former staffer was 25, Swalwell was invited to speak at a gala in New York City. Yep. Um, that she attended. The CNN reviewed video of Swalwell's speech at the event and a photo of the woman there. The woman said she decided to get drinks with Swalwell because he was a powerful person in her field. That makes sense. The two got drinks at Swalwell's hotel and a nearby bar, and at a in a nearby bar. And Swalwell was totally professional, she said. Federal campaign spending records show that Swalwell's congressional campaign frequently made purchases at both locations she named. After the gala, she said she met up with some colleagues and then sent Swalwell a Snapchat message inviting him to get another drink. One of the colleagues she was with told CNN she told them at the time she was going to get a drink with Swalwell. The colleague asked not to be named. I get it. I get it. I'm going to interject here because I totally understand this sort of thing. There's that desire probably to blame. Well, she reached out. She said this. She said she wanted to get another drink with him. I also get if your previous encounter was super weird, some of this could be taking power back. Some of this could be maybe I was crazy. Was I crazy? I'll get another drink with him. It'll be fine. I was nuts. It was a one time thing. There's a lot of that that goes on, at least for me. Let me know if it's the same for you. But at least for me, a lot of that same thing. Like, yeah, I get this. I have friends who are still mutual friends with some of the people who did nasty, nasty things to me. I'm not going to tell them not to be friends with them because that's just me and it's not, you know, that's me in my world. Um, but so far, I'm not seeing any issues here. So far, this all feels real familiar. Um, going back, when Swalwell, so going back to the article, when Swalwell came in a car to pick her up, he put his hand on her leg. I said, no funny business. Like, that's not what this is. She remembered. And he was like, okay, okay. But then over drinks, Swalwell told the former staffer that he'd been obsessed with her and he'd never cheated on his wife except with her. She said, I guess I liked the attention, but I never wanted to sleep with him, she remembered. I have to go. There we go. As the night progressed, she said the two went to another bar and continued drinking. She said she was heavily intoxicated and doesn't remember leaving the bar. Again, I have been there where you're like, I'm good. I'll have one more, maybe another one. It'll be fine. Oh shit. So, yep, fine. The next thing the former staffer remembered, she was in bed with Swalwell in his hotel room and he was doing things with her, she said. She remembers flashes of that evening of him on top of me pushing him off, him grabbing me, and I was pushing him off of me saying no. He didn't stop. The former staffer woke up in Swalwell's hotel room the next morning alone and completely confused, she said. She had been wearing a dress she needed someone else to zip, so she wrapped herself in a blanket, ran out of the hotel, took the first cab she saw back to her own hotel, and she quickly called her mother, who confirmed her account in an interview with CNN. She says, my vagina was bleeding the next day after the encounter. I had cuts and bruises on my body. When she looked in the mirror later, I could see bruises of where his hands had been on my rib cage and on my legs and near my thighs, she remembered. Swalwell messaged her on Snapchat that day saying that the previous night was great and that he hoped she remembered it this time, telling her not to tell. Telling her not to tell. She told her partner that Swalwell had assaulted her when she returned home that day. Her partner confirmed in an interview with CNN, saying that she was just so distraught. She also told two other friends about being assaulted by Swalwell over the following days, according to screenshots of text messages she shared with CNN and an interview with one of the friends. This is where I say, we don't need to see those. You know who needs to see those? The district attorney or a lawyer. And should this go anywhere, these messages will come out. In both text message chains, she referred to the same thing happening to her in the past, writing in one message, "This happened one other time when I was working for him. Same pattern. I blacked out and he had an encounter with me." Her partner, mother, and friend asked not to be named. That doesn't surprise me. Several days later, she went to a health clinic and got an STD test and provided screenshots showing that appointment to CNN. She said she told her medical provider that she had been assaulted by a congressman and that the provider at the clinic referred to her as a survivor in an online message about her test results, a screenshot shows. Yeah. She said she never confronted Swalwell directly about it or reported it to the police, in part because she believed him when he told her he hadn't made advances towards others. Quote, "I kept figuring out ways to blame myself. I shouldn't have reached out to him at all. I should have left. I should have done this." Well, he shouldn't have done that to me. I paraphrase that. Correct. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. I'm not her quote. "I am not speaking up because I am looking to ruin Eric Swalwell. The only person who could ruin Eric Swalwell is Eric Swalwell." Yeah, absolutely. This is another allegation. I should swoop. We should swoop between allegations. I don't know why the sound didn't come through. That's okay. Another woman who had interest in Democratic politics said she began messaging with Swalwell online in 2025 after responding to one of his Instagram stories, joking that she might run for office herself. A couple of days later, she said Swalwell followed her. That's always exciting, and encouraged her to get involved in politics. He later sent her his phone number. Um, nope, 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 nope. Red flag, red flag, red flag. Not on her part. Yeah. The woman and Swalwell began texting over several weeks, including late at night, discussing politics and their previous work experience as bartenders. Screenshots of messages she shared with CNN showed. She said she was shocked that a congressman was paying her attention. I quote, I kind of almost felt like I was getting catfished, end quote, she said. Yeah, that's a big deal. Um, all right, what is being Yes, in spring of 2025, Swalwell said he happened to be coming to her city and asked to meet. He asked her for suggestions for a hotel and places to go, the messages show. Swalwell and the woman met for dinner and drinks at a steakhouse. She said she told her mother about the meeting with Swalwell in advance, and her mother confirmed that in an interview with CNN, Swalwell asked her about her work history and what seemed almost like a job interview. Partway through, you'll note I'm just editing in my head because there's too many she says and she recalls, and yeah. So I'm editing as I go because habits. Partway through their conversation, Swalwell told her that he had to do a CNN interview and went back to his hotel room. As he was waiting for his live TV hit, Swalwell texted her a photo asking her how he looked, according to the screenshot she provided. That photo matched Swalwell's appearance in the interview that day. I added that. Again, I'm editing as I go. And Swalwell also told the CNN anchor that he was visiting the city where the woman lived. Afterwards, Swalwell took the woman to another bar where they sat in a back booth. She said he was sitting against me, and so I kind of moved away from him. And every time that I would move away from him, he would get closer to me. Dude, if she moves away from you, just let her do that. Um, he touched her leg and ordered a drink for her. The woman said she tried to turn the conversation to her partner and Swalwell's wife and children, but Swalwell continued to touch her. She began to get more intoxicated and felt really fuzzy, even accidentally walking into the men's bathroom in the bar. Okay. This, for me, personally, was the point at which I went, um, she's not making this allegation. This is not an allegation she is making in this particular thing. But story time. Story time. I'm gonna squirrel swoop. So a couple of years ago, um, yeah, I was like 40, 42, somewhere there. A couple of years ago, I went out to see a comedy show at a bar. Small place, decent place. Um, I honestly, I went alone, bought my own things, kept my purse on me the whole time, really didn't leave my seat. I got up, I think, once in between beverage 1 and beverage 2 to use the facilities. And, um, I got drugged. Nothing else happened to me on that particular night, but, my drink got drunk, and I know that because I am in my 40s, and I know exactly what my tolerance is, and, I know when I, got chatting with my best friend and had an extra glass of wine that maybe I shouldn't have had or what have you. But that, 1 drink to 2 suddenly being incredibly fuzzy, not knowing where you are, entering the wrong bathroom, but remembering that you entered the wrong bathroom. To me, it is wildly similar to that moment when I texted my best friend who lives 700 miles away from me that I needed to get to a place where the floor wasn't moving. Um, yeah, so she is not making this allegation. I am not saying I have any evidence in this to say for sure. However, for me, and for a whole lot of the internet that has experienced this, um, this sounds very Cosby-like and not just like a misunderstanding. So I had to pause for that. Um, okay. After she returned to the booth, Swalwell kissed her. She said, I was shocked that he would do that right in the middle of a public bar. She told him it was wrong, but didn't want to burn a bridge with a prominent congressman. So she stayed at the bar even as she was getting more intoxicated. Again, it sounds way too close to what I experienced. A woman said she then ended up in Swalwell's hotel room without any memory of how she got there. And she said that her memory of what happened in Swalwell's hotel room, that cut off, um, is a blur. She ended up leaving the hotel at 5:41 a.m., according to a screenshot of an Uber receipt that she provided to CNN. Girl kept the Uber receipts. Um, The next day, she said Swalwell sent her disappearing iPhone voice messages saying that he wanted to ensure his wife didn't find out what happened. Sir, that is the least of your worries in the coming months. Um, I'm going to skip over some of this because you can go read the article on CNN, and we have been here for over an hour, and you guys are awesome. I wanted to cover the allegations and things around them. Some of the feelings I don't need to go into here. A lot of this is just the reporters saying, here's what we were told, here's the corroborating evidence. Here's a story, here's the corroborating evidence. I appreciate that because as somebody who reads these things with a bit of a skeptical eye, again, trust but verify. I always take allegations in the light most favorable to the accuser. And then I ask questions. Um so I am going to skip ahead to a few days before he announced his gubernatorial bid in November. He texted her asking how she was, according to screenshots she provided. The following month, she sent him a long message telling him that, quote, all you did was harm me, and asking him not to contact her again. The response, I won't bother you again. Sorry. The woman said she continued to stay in touch with Swalwell after that, however, exchanging some friendly messages with him in what she likened to Stockholm syndrome. I'm not going to comment on that particular thing. In the cease and desist letter to the woman, Swalwell's lawyer argued that some of these text messages, including the one in which she said, you'd be an amazing governor, raised doubt about her account. Um, she wasn't named by CNN by all of the things that I have seen. If that turns out to be untrue, I will fix that. But everything I have seen, and CNN has said they did not name her to Swalwell or his attorney. So if she wasn't named, if we Jane Doe'd this the whole time, how do you know exactly who to send those letters to? Hmm? Oh, oh, is there some truth there? Because I think there might be. Um, I suffered a lot in silence. I had no desire to, this is in the article again, if you're just listening. I had suffered a lot in silence. I had no desire to ever come after him or ever come out saying something, she said. But she concluded that Swalwell, quote, used my vulnerabilities and the fact that I looked up to him to be able to get something from it. Uh huh. And then two others have had things to say. Samarco said she first connected with Swalwell after messaging him on Twitter in August of 2021, asking him about his history of growing up in a Republican family. Swalwell sent her friendly messages on Twitter. Oh, wait, I didn't swoop. Hang on. Swoop. New allegations. Swoop. Okay. Swalwell sent her friendly, this is Samarco. Swalwell sent her friendly messages on Twitter, screenshots she provided to CNN, asking her about a life, work in politics, and sent her his phone number. Okay. They began texting. He offered to share her resume with other congressional offices to help her get a job on Capitol Hill. Pardon me. Eventually, Samarco said Swalwell started texting her late at night to ask personal questions. He sent her a photo of himself drinking wine at home, she said. One screenshot she provided to CNN shows Swalwell musing whether he should, quote, pour a nightcap, end quote, and telling the influencer, quote, now you're the bad angel tempting me. Not from this dude, but I've received some of those text messages. And let me tell y'all, you think you're smooth. We all know what you're doing. We all know what you're doing. We all know what you're doing. When she said, now you're the bad angel tempting me, when she said he should, back in the article. In another message, she showed CNN. He's claiming all of this is rubbish. He asked, are you on Snap? Okay. Starting in September 2021, Samarco said that she and Swalwell exchanged messages on Snapchat almost every day. Don't do it, Belle. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Ugh. All right. We have to pause because you see my little troublemaker over here is about to send some things crashing to the floor. So you have been warned. She's mad. She's mad that I am still streaming. You mad? Please don't. Please don't. Belle. Don't. Belle. Belle. Don't. Belle, come here. I mean, you could just be cute and leave yourself in the background. We would be fine with it. You're gonna knock the Dalek down? Chat, this is ridiculous. All right. Well, I'm gonna come get you in a second. Hey, can I finish my stream? Or are you just gonna hang out there? Guys, my in-ears have come undone. I couldn't hear anything from it. It's streaming is dynamic. Please don't break anything. Hey, come here. Come here. Thank you. Streaming is dynamic, especially when you have critters. Okay, I will skim the last little bit of this. The article is available. I did want to cover it. I wanted to cover some of the allegations, and I wanted to go through some of the allegations with us. Because this is important. Um so let's see. Let us skip ahead. Some of the things in the article, Swalwell uh became very inappropriate, like saying how hot he thought I was, insinuating we should get together and hook up. Um right. I'm finding the disappeared part. And this is one. Swalwell asked Samarka where she lived, she said, and then ran by her apartment building several times, stopping to say hi, give her hugs, but not coming inside. Swalwell also gave her a personal tour of the Capitol. Yeah. Their contacts fizzled out when Samarco met her boyfriend, now her husband, in December 2021. She said, Swalwell tried multiple times to message me on Snapchat. Again, I just won't respond. Yeah, that's kind of the only thing you can do. I've got an ex that appears once a year, has for the last 10 years. I have not responded in that entire time because I don't want to. Ew. No. Um, and yeah, it's a lot. So, and it seems then in November 2025, he keeps trying. He keeps trying. So, and then there's another woman who works in marketing. Swalwell first reached out to her on Twitter in April 2021. They began messaging on Snapchat. It became flirty and intimate. He requested photos. I am zooming through the end of this article. The two never met in person, but messaged on and off for 4 years. She said Swalwell usually initiated contact. At points, Swalwell offered to help her with her career. I gotta be honest. Yeah, and then this is actually an excellent quote. When you're getting unsolicited dick videos sent to you, it just makes you feel like I'm lesser than a person. She said, I just wish I had never answered him. Hmm. So we skimmed through the last little bit of that. The camera has forgotten I exist, and the cat is heading back into the corner again. Yep, she's about to knock some things down. She's like, Mom, stop streaming. You are an hour and 24 minutes in. Stop streaming. Hey. She's trying to knock stuff over. So those are the allegations. I I they seem the maths on this, the allegations are similar enough, and different enough. Why does that matter? Because folks who do this sort of thing tend to have a pattern. especially when it's not just a one-off kind of incident, they tend to have a pattern. The pattern tends to look pretty similar, but there's always these little individual differences, kind of based on the fact that we are not cookie cutter human beings. This has a lot of the same things. It also has a lot of behavior that I recognize because I've experienced it, not from him directly. I've never met the man and I clearly don't want to. Um, I also tend to look at things when allegations like this get made. I pay real close attention to the accused. How do they respond? Um, I'm still an outlier with the game and allegations because I just simply do not have enough information. And there weren't enough quotes in that podcast directly from the accusers. It was so edited, I did not get a full story. So I can't make a determination on that. Also, I did look at the New Yorker article with that particular one, and that reporter um is under the impression that women can't be the aggressors. They tried for a bit of extra time to make Johnny Depp be an aggressor, and that's just not how the evidence played out in court. Um, and I did some research on that reporter, so I don't I take a big lump of salt with all of the reports on Gaiman. Again, trust but verify. I have a lot of questions. I have a lot more questions with the Gaiman situation than I have about the Swalwell situation. And I think that's okay. Like, again, Gaiman said didn't happen and then disappeared. Smart. That is a way to get me to continue to want to ask questions, right? Um, Louis C.K., who I used to adore, um, said it didn't happen and then said maybe it did happen and then disappeared for a while and said, I'm so sorry, I'm going to learn about stuff, and then has come back and then went, well, fine. You all think I'm this dude anyway. I am. That was a wild kind of roller coaster. Swalwell's defense of this has not put my mind at ease. It hasn't made me skeptical of these stories, and there are some very key things being left out of it. Um, I was originally going to go ahead and pull up his I didn't do it video, but I don't think I want to give him airtime right now. So we're not going to go there. For me, the kicker for me, let's get this into a court of law. Let's see if we can actually prosecute for his alleged crimes. Let's see if the state can prove it. If CNN did not name any of these people and you only sent survivors C&D letters and you did not send the creators who broke the story C&D letters, yeah, if you wanna say that the creators are making this up or are MAGA operatives or anything like that, if that's what you're going with, okay, bring them to court. If it is in fact defamation, bring them to court. Why do I think the creators did not get C&D letters? because I think he knows what discovery will open up. And I don't think he wants that. Because my guess is that there are more. There are 4 in here quoted. I've heard the number a dozen being floated around multiple times or more. In my world, like, there is a percentage of people who do lie about this sort of thing. And it's not an insignificant percentage, but once you start clicking into 10, 12, many, yeah, that math just does not work out. That does not, you done did it at that point. Then it's just up to the court of public opinion and the court of law to do something about it. Court of public opinion is in session. Currently, there are lots of deliberations happening. Lots. Um, but I think we need to have more real conversations about this, and we need to trust but verify. I'm going to go ahead and get up on my soapbox, and then I'm going to say goodnight. Innocent until proven guilty. I said it at the beginning. I'm going to say it again. That is for a court of law. That is so that we end up, in theory, with situations like O.J. Simpson and not the very long list of innocent people who have been incarcerated for their lives. Too many names to name. That's why. That's the innocent until proven guilty. When you have the weight of the state and the might of the state, it is up to the state to prove that they are correct. What that is not in place of, the innocent until proven guilty, does not apply to the court of public opinion, and it does not apply in corporate. It does not apply in most any businesses, and it sure doesn't apply to sitting officials. You ice them. Ice them. Oust them from wherever they are. Put them on, if you're dealing with a cop, you put them on leave. Depending on the allegations, unpaid leave would be good, but whatever. You put them on leave, you do the investigation, and then depending on what the investigation turns up, you go from there. Then you either fire them or they get prosecuted or you hire them back with an apology and a public statement or something along those lines. In this particular case, California has, like, I'm exaggerating here, 947 people running for governor. There are so many people running for governor. Just freaking whittle this down. Like, I say this from Maine, and we have like 700 people currently running for governor. But just for the love of all things holy, Callie, you lost one of your baker's dozen of candidates. Just one. Just Swalwell, step out. If you are truly innocent, Swalwell, step down, step out, let it all play out, and then come back bigger and better than ever. I don't think that's going to happen. And I think you don't think that's going to happen because think you know what you did. That's my speculation. That's my snark. Um, but that's where I'm at there. I think I think he needs to take his lumps and go home for a while. Go home. Go see your wife who is, I mean, she might not want you at home either, but um yeah, it's already a hot mess. And it's going to get messier. the internet is going to continue to wild out. And I'll bet you our president is probably kind of happy that people aren't mad at him for 12 hours. Oh, he'll get back there, don't you worry. He always does. But California, do yourselves a favor. Lock in on a progressive or whatever works best for your state, truly, that isn't MAGA. And and find them, coalesce, get behind them, and do it, like, now. We will deal with my state in future shows because there's a whole lot that's related, but not nearly like this. Um, with that, I'm gonna do one more swoop. We're gonna do a couple housekeeping things. I'm gonna thank you for hanging with me well into late for us. Um, but it was important to me to take the time to go through those allegations. And it's not a court document, but if a court document happens and I can get my paws on it, we'll go over it because I'm going to be following this. You bet. Yeah, I'll be following this for sure. Um, Swoop, housekeeping, and then we can all say goodnight. All right. So, housekeeping. You've noted the last couple Saturdays I've changed my time from the 7:15 to early in the afternoon and then later in the evening. Next weekend I am going to try and do a show, but the next 2 weekends it is me and the critters and the house. So, there are plans afoot and other things happening, but as we saw this evening when Kitty decided to that I was done, it can be a little dynamic, and I don't I can't promise that I will be back. I can promise that even if I am not back next week, even if I end up with 2 weeks being different, I'll be one of the 2, you'll get something. If I am not doing a live stream, however, on those 2 days, I will make sure that at least some shorts or something go up on the channel so that there is something there and so that YouTube does not forget me. Also, that leads us into May. Can we say summer is coming and all the things are happening? Yes. So that leads us into May. I am going to be traveling to Virginia in May because one of my nibblings is graduating high school, and I'm going to go see her. So I'm very excited. I'm very proud of them. And I am also going to get to see my bestie, and it's going to be a great trip. So you will get travel updates. There will be shorts. I'll make sure that you guys can come on the road with me a bit. But whether or not I'm going to be able to do shows during travel time is wildly up in the air. Who knows? We could have a fun show. We could have the 3 of us. We might just get super busy. I don't know. So anyway, that's what we're looking at going forward. Um, pardon me. In order to stay in the loop, if you want the most up-to-date information, as always, follow me on Threads and Instagram because that is where you get the most up-to-date information. On Instagram, you also get pictures of the critters. You also get videos of the critters. And sometimes that's the only place you see them. So that is where you will get the most up-to-date information. Also, if you're following me on Threads when stuff like this is popping off, you can bounce around and find me on you can find my comments. Because sometimes they do get a little vocal and all of that. So, I think that is everything. You guys are amazing. Thanks for hanging with me this evening. It has this was a day. This was a day. This was a huge thing. News cycled, um, all of that. Anyway, you guys are wonderful. Cheers to you. And as always, be well, do good, and remember to bark a lot. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Bark a Lot. Follow me on Threads and Insta at the Aurora H. White. That's where I post most frequently between shows. Hit that like button, connect with us, and remember to bark a lot. We will see you next time.